All right. How we guys doing? My name is Jesse, and today we are going over Packet Tracer 2.2.3.3, configuring initial switch settings. Hopefully you got a chance to go through some of the instructional videos that the Academy has out there for using Packet Tracer, and you kind of had some hands-on with a little bit so far. I know this is probably week 2? Yeah, week 2. So you're probably just starting to feel a little bit of the fire hose of information that's coming at you. Uh, Again, this being your first class, maybe you've already been in the industry, maybe you haven't been. Maybe this is one of your first IT courses that you've ever taken. I would just say don't freak out. Over the next coming semesters, as you go through the Cisco Academy, it's going to feel like a fire hose every single semester. But as far as information, that is, but it will be worth it. Every bit of information you will use in some form or another, and if you just lean into it, you'll make it through, and you'll feel so much better because you've actually accomplished something that is pretty difficult, but rewarding. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. As I go through each one of these steps, I'll try to explain and add to it. I know as you go through some material, you might have more questions about it when you're reading through it. But when you're getting with the lab, you want to see how it ties back into your reading material. So I'm going to try to do that as much as possible and hit those different points and try to elaborate a little bit more. So let's go ahead and just jump into the objectives. As we look at the objectives here, part 1, it says verify the default switch configuration. Part 2, you're going to be configuring the basic switch configuration. Part 3, configuring a MOD or MOTD, which is message of the day banner. Say the configuration to your NVRAM, and then configuring switch 2. The basic background in this activity, you will be performing basic switch configurations. You will secure access to the command line interface, the CLI, and console port using encryption plain text passwords. You will also learn how to configure messages for users logging into the switch. These banners are also used to warn unauthorized users to access that access is prohibited. Which is very important. Access is prohibited. It's important because you need to be able to tell people, hey, you do not have access to this, you should not be accessing it. There's been, I forget where I heard it, was either at a conference or some video I was watching, but these hackers got into a Cisco system or a router or switch. It might not have been Cisco, but when they got to the screen to log in, it said welcome. And when it was finally brought forth in court, they brought that fact out that it said welcome, and they said, well, this was inviting us in. This wasn't telling us to stay out. And I believe they actually won their court case based off of that fact. So we're going to go in there and also put an appropriate warning banner telling people, hey, you have to have access to this to be able to enter in. So we'll go over all that stuff. So jump right into part 1, verifying the default switch configuration. You can access all switch commands from privilege mode. However, because many of the privilege commands configure operating parameters, privilege access should be password protected to prevent unauthorized use. Just kind of skipping through that. You probably read in a couple of your chapters, there's these different modes that you can go into when working with a switch or with a router or any Cisco device for that matter. You have the base entry mode, which is your user mode. And then you go deeper into that. You go from the user mode to the privilege mode. And then you have what's called global configuration mode. You have your line console mode, your interface configuration mode, and router configuration mode. You have all these different configuration modes. But it's important to know what each layer is as you go, deeper into the router or switch, so you know what each mode does, what's its purpose, what commands can you do at each layer. So definitely, get used to using those different layers and know what they do. We'll be going through some of those different modes, and I'll try to explain them as much as possible as we do. So as we go, it says on A right here, it says click on S1, which is our switch 1, and then the CLI tab and press enter. So we're going to go ahead and we just opened up switch 1 here. We just clicked on it. We're not going to be doing any kind of console cables from the PC to the switch. We're just going to go right into the switch and start configuring it from that. And then we have these tabs up here at the top. I want to go ahead and click on CLI, and boom, we're in the command line interface. And press enter. And right now we are in user mode. We want to get into privilege mode. By doing that, we type enabled. There's going to be a couple different hotkeys. You've probably read about this within this chapter already, but hotkeys and shortcuts refer to different things you can do to go ahead and maneuver throughout the OS faster. So one thing that I just did, if you didn't notice, I went ahead and typed EN, which stands for enable, and I pressed tab. When I type EN, what happens is when I press that tab button, because I've hit a certain amount of characters that the OS can recognize that command, it goes ahead and autofills the rest of the command. If I were to only type in a couple letters and there might be a couple commands that might resemble those couple characters, it's not unique enough to go ahead and fill in by pressing tab. So you have to enter in enough unique letters within the command and then press tab, and it'll go ahead and auto-configure. Other quick hot tabs or hot keys that I use are not only the tab, but arrow up and arrow down. That will go ahead and bring up your history of commands by pressing the arrow up or arrow down. It makes it quicker, as well as the Control C button, which will take you out of your global configuration, put you back in the privilege, which is very helpful. So I'll show you all those different commands, and you'll use them a lot. I use tab a ton just because I don't like typing everything out. Might as well use the OS to its strength. So, okay, we're going to go into privilege mode. From here, you can see that we now have the pound sign as opposed to the less than symbol. As we jump into step 2, let's go ahead and scroll down. Another thing you'll notice as you go through different packet tracers, you'll look over here and you'll get this completion percentage right here. And right now it says I have 12 out of 72 complete. This is very helpful for if you're trying to figure out, hey, am I on the right path? Did the command I just enter actually help me in completing this packet tracer? Just look over it and glance over there as you're pressing enter, and it'll show you whether or not you're entering the proper commands. Okay, so coming down, examining the current switch configuration. So it asks you to go ahead and type in show run configuration. And when you're typing this in, I'm sure you've read so far, it'll show you the running configuration that's running on the device that you're looking at. So we go ahead and we press enter. To go ahead and move down the page, you press the spacebar button, and it'll go ahead and bring you down the page. We can see a couple of the questions that they ask. How many fast Ethernet interfaces does the switch have? Well, we can see that there's 24. Pretty simple. How many gigabit interfaces does it have? Well, you can see it says more, so we can just go ahead and hit tab, and it'll bring up what's below that. We have 2 gigabit Ethernet interfaces. What is the range of value shown for the VTY line, your virtual lines? So we just go ahead and we take a look, and we have 0 through 15 right there. And then what else does it ask us here within these questions? What command will display the current contents of your non-volatile random access memory? Well, to do that, you just type in show starting config. Now, what pops up, it says starting config is not present, which means there hasn't been any kind of configuration saved to the switch at this point, which is actually the next question. Why doesn't your switch respond to the startup configuration command? That's what the question's asking, and that's the reason why. You just don't have anything saved to it yet. We will definitely be doing that later in this lab. Okay, scrolling down to part 2. It says create a basic switch configuration. A lot of these things that we're doing right here is something that you'll be doing throughout your whole entire 4 semesters of this course. So very much get used to it. What I end up doing later on in the second semester is I actually ended up saving a lot of these commands or the running configuration for these commands in a notepad document, and whenever I needed to go ahead and slap all this information into a configuration, a running configuration, I could just copy and paste it, press enter, and hey, away we go. We already have all the configuration there. But since we're starting off, we need to know how to do all these things, so we're going to go ahead and go through those steps right now. All right, to configure parameters on a switch, you may be required to move between various configuration modes. Notice how the prompt changes as you navigate through the switch. So we went ahead and we talked about that earlier. But we're going to go ahead and go into configuration mode. Conf T will go ahead and bring you into conf terminal, configuration terminal. Again, here, let me go ahead and, like I did, I just went ahead and I pressed Control C and it brought me back to privilege mode. But I type in conf, which it means configure. You can press tab and it'll go ahead and auto configure, or fill in the rest of the word, that is. And then T, I can just press enter right now, or I can press tab and it'll go ahead and fill in the rest of the word. But conf T will go ahead and just bring you right into the configuration mode, global configuration mode, that is. The first command that they have us do is to go ahead and name the switch. So we'll go ahead and type in host name, and switch 1 is what they want us to name it. And from here, you can either type control or hold the Control C, and it'll take you out of here, or you can type exit. We'll do that. Again, I'm just using tab to go ahead and to fill in the rest of the word, and then press enter. And hey, we're back down to privilege mode, just as easy as that. Okay. Step 2, secure access to the console line. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into the global configuration mode by typing conf T. We're going to go into line console, the console port that's on the device. We want to try to secure that so that people just can't walk up to the console port on a router or switch, plug right in, and then have access to the device. So line console, or you can do line con 0. Okay, we're there. They want us to go ahead and put a password of let me in. So we're going to type password, and then after you do a space, you go ahead and you type your password, let me in. Now be careful not to put any spaces at the end of your password. That can cause you an issue when you go to type it in and it's not letting you in, and it's just because you have a space there, because it will be whatever you type. So if you put in extra spaces, any characters or anything like that, make sure you remember that, because it will do exactly what you tell it to do. So we press enter, and then what we want to do is type in login. The reason is that we want to make sure that this password is shown on the login screen. Otherwise, if you don't type that in, it won't pop up. So login, and we'll type exit again, just like it asks. You can type exit again. Again, Control C becomes your friend when you have to move down. It's a much quicker way of moving down than typing exit every single time. If you were in, let me just show you this real quick. Console 0. Okay, so we're in the line configuration. You can type end as well, and that will take you all the way back down to privilege mode also. Okay. Okay, we already went over why the login command is required. We'll go to step 3, verifying that the console access is secure. Well, to do that, what we have to do is type exit. So we'll pop it back in here, type exit. Hey, we're out of privilege mode, and in fact, we're out of everything. We're at the login screen, just like we just set up. And the password was let me in, and it puts us into user mode. So we'll go ahead and we'll type enable. Hey, we're back in the privilege mode. Look at that. Very cool. Okay, yep. Let's go ahead and go to step 4. Okay, set the enable password. Secure the privilege mode access. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're going to set up an enable password of this alphanumeric Cisco word here. This password protects access to the privilege mode. All right, note the alphanumeric nature of it. So the password will not grade as correct until after you encrypt in step 8. So don't get freaked out by your completion percentage not going up. That's what it's trying to let you know there. All right, back into global configuration. We are going to go ahead and type enable password, and that password will be Cisco. We press enter. I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but for the most part, you will never use this command after this semester of your class in the Cisco Academy, because it is plain text. You can see it when you go into the running config. So anybody that's looking over your shoulder at the running config will see what your password is. But we'll go into that a little bit more in a second. All right, verify privilege mode is secure. Very simple. Type exit. And we'll type exit again. Okay, so let me in. Oh, let me in. Thank you. So I'm going to type enable again, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's asking me for the password to get into privilege mode. So we'll type Cisco, and we're back into privilege mode. All right. Password. Yep. The command, privilege mode, and just kind of reading through this real quick. All right. So it's verify your configuration by examining the contents of the running configuration file. So we'll go ahead and do a show run running config. And then just as I said before, right here, you can see that it says enable password, Cisco. And then right here, you can also see that you've labeled your host name, switch 1 there. And as we go ahead and we cursor down, you can see your line console interface, as well as the password for that and the login command. All right, so it's all open, you can see it, and that's really not what we want. We don't want people to be able to just, walk up to an interface if you happen to leave it logged in and type in a show run command, and voila, there's your passwords right there. And if you use these configurations anywhere else in your network, or any of these passwords anywhere in your network, they'll have access to those. So it's not very good to go ahead and leave these passwords unencrypted. So we're going to learn how to do that in the next step here. Step number 6. Configure an encrypted password to secure access to the privileged mode. The enable password should be replaced with a newer encrypted secret password using the enable secret command. Set the enable secret password as it's a secret. So to do that, oh, look at this. They're already jumping into shorthand, which is awesome. So conf T, we're into global configuration mode. We're going to type in enable secret, because it's a secret password. And it's a secret. We'll just hit enter. We'll type exit. We're back down to privilege mode. Okay. Just a note again, enable secret password overrides the enable password. So, if both are configured on the switch, you must either enter the enable secret password to enter privilege exec mode, which means no longer can you use that enable password. It won't be there anymore. Let's see. And if you look, it's still going to be sitting there in your running configuration. So personally, I take those out. I wouldn't use those. But if you look at your enable secret, you have a nice little encrypted bunch of stuff here. So you can no longer see that password, which is awesome. All right, let's go down to step 7. Verifying your enable secret. Yep, we just did that. Show run. Second hen. Then let's jump down to step 8. Now, if I were to go ahead and go down to your running config, you can actually still see the let me in password on the line console, but we don't want it there either. We don't want people to see that either. So we're going to type in the password encrypt command. So we're going to go back into configuration mode. T. We're going to type service password encrypt and press enter. Here's a cool shortcut. Whenever you're in a configuration mode that's not privileged or user, you can type, if you want to see a show command, you can type the word do, which will allow you to go ahead and see any show command. Because if I were to go ahead and type in show run right now, it'll give me a error command, or error message, that is. So if I type show or do show run, boom, it's right there. Very helpful. You'll use it a ton. Thank me later. Okay, so if we go down now to the line console, you can look and see, no longer there. It's completely hashed. You can't even see it. It's encrypted. It's great. It's goodness. Um, so at that point, we're done with passwords, at least so far. You can look and see your completion percentage has gone up now. Part 3, configuring a message of the day banner. Okay, so we're in configuration mode once again. Looks like they have. There's really two ways you can do this. You can do it the way that they're suggesting by typing banner message of the day and then just go ahead and type your message after that. I'll show you a different way. It's fairly simple. You type in banner just like you would. Banner message of the day. And then we need, with the way that I'm going to show you, need to put a special character that specifies when you're going to end your banner message. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and use a pound sign. It's important to know what you're going to type inside your message of the day banner, because if you use one of those special characters within your banner, it will end right where that character is. So for example, if I were to say, hi, Tom, and put a pound sign and continue to type something, if I leave that, and then we'll just exit back out. Height 2. So you can see that it stopped right where I put that pound sign. So you got to make sure you know what you're going to put in your message so that your special character does not interfere with that special message. And what was this one? Oh, secret. Okay, back in the configuration mode, and let's do our banner the way that they're asking us to. Banner. This is a secure system. Authorized. Access only. One thing you really want to be careful of is when you're going through these packet tracers, whether it's your exams or just the regular labs, to do exactly what they say. Make sure your text is exactly how they type it, because if you don't, your completion level won't go up and you'll get marked down. So definitely make sure you do that exactly how they want it. And if we go ahead and go back out, gotta wait for this. So you can see I accidentally typed a command in that I didn't intend to. If you hit the Control Shift and 6, it'll go ahead and take you right out of that. If that annoys you, which it always annoys me, you can type in a command called no IP domain name lookup. And what that does is when you type in a command that it thinks it's a domain that you're trying to look up, it won't look up the domain. So that will help you. And as you can see now, there's our banner message. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Part 4. Save configuration files to NVRAM. Verify the configuration is accurate using the show run command. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll type in privilege mode. We don't need to be in configuration because we're not configuring anything. We'll type copy because we want to copy the running config to the starting config. So type that in. It's asking right here the destination file. That is the name of the file right there that you're going to use to save to. You could at this point also type in a different file name. Maybe you don't want to have it be the starting config for that. That's helpful for if you're trying to work on a configuration. You can save it as something else and then reload your starting config so that the router continues to work just fine with your previous configuration. So we'll just press enter, and that's that. We just saved the configuration file. Okay. Step 3, examine the configuration file. So of starting config. So show starting config. Boom, and it shows your starting configuration file. Also, I didn't mention this before. When you did the encryption, the service password encryption, it went ahead and encrypted the enable password. So that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to configure switch 2 now. So we'll go ahead and we'll exit out of this. Pull up switch 2. So now that you've gone through all these steps, it's kind of not going to hold your hand a little bit. I want you to kind of know what you're doing. So we'll go ahead and we'll go out of user to privilege mode. We'll go into configuration mode and we'll give the host name switch 2. All right, we'll go ahead and go into the console port. Give it a password. Again, let me in. And make sure again to type in the login command so that it pops up, the login pops up for you to enter a password when you're trying to get into the switch or the router. Okay. From there, we're going to do both passwords once again. The enable password command, enable password. Cisco. Up. Again, I just went ahead and I used the arrow up so I could go ahead and see the previous command. Secret. It's a secret. All right. Then configure a message for those logging into the switch. So, banner. And there's different banners. Again, another thing that you'll use a ton of is question mark. So for example, right now I just typed banner and then I put a question mark after it and I pressed enter. And it went ahead and showed me the different commands that it can follow. Now on a production switcher router, there's many different types of banners that are out there. But for Packet Tracer, it only gives you the message of the day banner. But I'll show you more about that as we go through these videos. So the banner message. Oh, gotta put message of the day. Okay. Type that in. One thing that you'll find as you work in the field, and if you configure these messages will also be scripted by your HR department as well as with IT, so that you follow all the laws that each state or city or the United States, for that matter, or whatever country you're from, what legal parameters that the message needs to say to basically cover yourself. You don't want to be the IT guy out there that puts the wrong type of message, like we talked about earlier. Okay, I put my special character at the end, which is just the pound sign. We'll press enter. Okay, so step E here, encrypt all plain text passwords. Again, that's service password encrypt. Sure the configuration is correct to do that. Again, you don't have to go all the way down to privilege mode. You can just type in the do show running configuration. I'll just do show run. You can see host name, everything's encrypted here. Go down, there's our banner right there, and our password on login for the line console. Okay, and then save the configuration to avoid the configuration to be lost if the switch gets powered down, which is very important, because I can't tell you how many times I've been in a lab with other students and someone decided to turn off their rack of routers and switches and inadvertently also turned off the lab neighbor's rack as well, and they didn't save any of their configuration, and we'd been spending hours on these configurations, and they lost all their work, and inevitably their grade reflected that. So yeah, make sure to always, as you go, just kind of save some of your information. So if that power outage comes, you're at least not having to go all the way back to the beginning and start over. So we'll copy the running to the startup configuration. And that's that. And as you look, we have 72 out of 72. Another cool thing, if you need to check if maybe you didn't complete a step or you thought you did and you're not sure why, you're not at 100% or in this case 72%, you can go ahead and check this check results. And wait a minute, I'll take that out. And this is your activity results right here. You can go ahead and click through these different tabs. Your overall feedback right here, it says congratulations, you succeeded in completing the packet tracer. But if you click on this assessment items, you can go ahead and you can see all the different things that you configured. If you were to stretch this over or click over, you can see the point values, whether you did it correctly, what the components were, things like that. You can also, that'd probably help too. This is really helpful for when you have a very large configuration file that you're working on, and maybe you didn't do it exactly the way, like maybe your banner message wasn't correct. When your passwords, you put a space in when you weren't supposed to. You can come to here and you can see what you messed up on and what you need to correct. And it definitely helps you when you go through this work. At this point, we are done. I hope you guys found this enjoyable and helpful. Again, as you go through the different videos that I'll be producing, I try to go a little bit slower and explain some of the different steps. So if you're looking for just someone that runs through the work, I'm not that guy. I really want you to learn this stuff, because it's exciting, it's cool, and I want to see people receive their IC&D 1 certificate and their IC&D 2 and get their CCNA routing and switching. Anyhow, you have yourself a wonderful time learning, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.